Hey guys, this is Josh from ThroughMyLens.com. This is what Route 66 has in Arizona. My goal for this video series was just to capture my dad and I's journey on Route 66 and to show what the route looked like in June of 2019. If you want to see the first video I made on California, you can click the link in the description. I tried my best to get all the facts correct, but forgive me if I missed something, and here's what we saw on Route 66 in Arizona. After crossing over the Colorado River and seeing Old Trails Bridge and the famous Needles, we made it into Arizona. We passed California and we're entering into Arizona. From the state line, you'll get off immediately on Oatman Highway, and you'll start the longest uninterrupted stretch of Route 66 that's still left. It's about 158 miles and it goes from the Colorado River to around the town of Ash Fork. Made it to our first stop in Arizona, Oatman, where we're gonna get some dinner and check out all of the donkeys that are supposedly exploring the town. Located in the Black Mountains, one of the most picturesque parts of the Route 66 drive, Oatman is famous for the way the town's been preserved and for the fact that donkeys just wander the streets. We got there pretty late in the day, but we were still able to make a few stops.
It was bound to happen eventually.
How do I get out of here? These are the residents of Oatman. Hey, donkey. After hanging out with the donkeys, we headed into the Oatman Hotel to grab dinner. This hotel is supposedly haunted and it was built in 1902. It's also where Clark Gable and Carole Lombard spent their honeymoon night, and you can still see the room upstairs. The restaurant walls are lined with dollar bills and you can make your mark and then staple them to the wall. ThroughMyLens.com. We grabbed burgers here right before they closed and then explored a little bit more of the town. Oatman Hotel, that's where we went for dinner. Good food, fun atmosphere, dollar bills everywhere. Definitely look at when they closed though, because they stopped serving at 5:30 when we came. The small town had a few more things to explore, but most of it was closed, and so we headed on to our next destination. This would be a fun but hot time to be in Oatman. Very nice. Do not miss Oatman when you come to Arizona. It is such a fun town. The drive from Oatman to Kingman is one of the most beautiful on all of Route 66, as it winds up through the Black Mountains and takes you over Sitgreaves Pass. This area used to be dangerous in the 20s and 30s as the steep downhill slant was tough for many drivers. After going over the pass, you'll get to Cool Springs, which has a small museum and gift shop, and it's a fun place to grab a drink. When we finally made it to Kingman, it was dark, so we took some time to drive around and see the neon signs before going to bed. Day 3, leaving from the Rambling Rose in Kingman, and we're heading to Flagstaff tonight. We didn't get to see much of Kingman the night before, so we backtracked a little bit to see what the town had to offer before heading on. First stop of the day, Powerhouse Museum. One of the things you'll notice about Route 66 is that most of the major towns have their own Route 66 museum. Some are definitely better than others, and the one in Kingman, Arizona is one of the best. It has a ton of history and interactive exhibits that you can see, and I definitely recommend that you stop by. When you're in Arizona, you can pick up a passport, and you can get stamps for the different locations that you visit. This is where we learned about the Route 66 passports, and you can get one just for the state of Arizona, or you can get one for the entire drive. I recommend the one for the entire drive as it's a lot of fun to stop and get stamps and little trinkets that they give you. Across the street from the Powerhouse Museum, there's also a fun little diner. It was too early for food for us, but if you check it out, let me know how it is in the comments. On the way out of town, we stopped again at the Historic Hotel, which supposedly has the world's longest Route 66 map. I can't verify that, but it is pretty long. This is our first stop today, the town of Hackberry. This is basically the only thing in the town, the general store. Hackberry was once a popular mining town, but then it became a ghost town in the early 1900s. Once Route 66 went through it, this store became popular for travelers, and it's still one of the best general stores on the entire route today. Don't forget to stop by the garage they have set up in the back as well. From there, we made our way to Peach Springs and stopped at one of the coolest signs I saw in Arizona. These old signs are everywhere on Route 66, but this was one of the ones that was in the best condition. There wasn't much to see in Peach Springs other than getting our next stamp, so we continued on. Next up, we're outside of Peach Springs and we're taking the Caverns tour, which is an hour tour about 200 feet below the ground. There are many caves on Route 66, but this is one of the first you'll get to if you're driving west to east. My dad hates small spaces, so I left him upstairs and I went down and took the cave tour. This cave is especially unique because there's a restaurant that you can reserve to eat at, and there's a room that you can stay at in the bottom of the cave. It's expensive, but I have to imagine it's a pretty crazy experience. The cave also has a lot of interesting history and unique formations to see, and it was definitely a lot of fun. I would recommend it if you like this type of thing. From there, it was on to Seligman, one of the most famous towns on Route 66. We're in the town of Seligman, Arizona. This is definitely one you don't want to miss. So much cool stuff to see here, and it was the town that Cars was based off of. Seligman was on Route 66 from 1926 to 1978, when Highway 40 bypassed it by only a few miles. This essentially killed the town until Angel Delgadillo revived it and made it what it is today, one of Route 66's most popular stops. Don't leave the town without visiting Angel's shop. He's one of the people who was responsible for actually saving Route 66. It's definitely cool to check out when you're in Seligman. If you're lucky, you may even run into Angel, but either way, be sure to check out the shop and grab some memorabilia. Across the street is the Snowcap Drive-In, which was run by Angel's brother Juan, and which has Cars memorabilia all around it and is a super fun place to stop for lunch. It's a good sized hot dog.
Everything you would expect in a jalapeno burger.
After finishing lunch, we left Seligman and made our way through Ash Fork. There wasn't much to see there other than a few old buildings and signs.
We're now in Williams, Arizona.
The city of Williams, Arizona was the last spot that was bypassed on Route 66, and it's a bustling town for tourists with lots of shops, neon lights, hotels, and other Route 66 memorabilia. It's also the gateway to the Grand Canyon, and you can ride a train to the Grand Canyon from Williams if you have an extra day while you're driving Route 66. I would recommend just parking your car in the downtown area and walking up and down the main street seeing what the city has to offer. This is the world's largest steel Route 66 sign. Also, on the north side of the main street, there's an old gas station that's been turned into a free museum that you can see. Look at this, they used a train car for a bridge. Williams is also a good jumping off point for the Grand Canyon. You can actually take the train there. We're not going this time, but you can also drive from Flagstaff, and here's some clips of last time I was there. Many people choose to visit the Grand Canyon while driving Route 66. If you want to do that, it's about an hour and a half from Williams to the South Rim, and that's a great area with tons of viewpoints down into the canyon and things that you can see. If If you choose to go from Flagstaff, it's about an hour and a half to a different and less touristy part of the Grand Canyon, which has the Desert View Watchtower, one of my favorite things to see on the rim. Alright, now back to Route 66 with our arrival at Flagstaff. We made it to Flagstaff. Our first stop is at the Museum Club. It was a taxidermy place in the 30s, then it turned into a bar. We're gonna go grab a drink. The Museum Club is an awesome historic Route 66 watering hole, and it's still a place where you can see taxidermy animals and catch some live music. After grabbing a drink, we headed back into Flagstaff to check into our hotel. Just checked into our hotel in Flagstaff, the Hotel Monte Vista. Super cool spot from the 1930s, right in the middle of downtown Flagstaff. This hotel opened in 1927, it's supposedly haunted, and it's had many famous guests.
Michael J. Fox, Bing Crosby, pretty cool.
After getting checked into the hotel, we walked around downtown and made our way over to Lumberyard Brewing Company for dinner.
We got the tri-tip, but we got poblano chili cheese grits, baby. It's going to be amazing.
This spot had great food, and it was right next to the train tracks, so it was cool to watch the trains go by as we sat on the outside patio.
Feels weird picking it up. The legacy of that shield.
After dinner, we walked around downtown a little bit, saw the neon lights, and then headed back to our hotel to play some darts and crash for the night.
Back in our amazing hotel after a day of traveling through Arizona, playing darts. Fabulous day. End of day 3.
To start our second day in Arizona, we took advantage of our downtown location and went to Fire Creek Coffee Company. Starting day 4, we are leaving Flagstaff, got some coffee, we're on our way to New Mexico.
Gotta get our stamp at the Flagstaff Visitor Center before we leave.
I also kept noticing that a lot of places had the Smash Penny machine, so I decided to start collecting those as well. On the way out of town, there was a few more signs and old buildings to see before making our way to our first stop. This is our first stop today, about 15 miles outside of Flagstaff, Twin Arrows. Twin Arrows was another favorite stopping point for people on Route 66 as the two arrows beckoned them into the trading post that sat nearby. Unfortunately, when Highway 40 came, it was hard to keep the trading post in business and it became the ghost town that it is today. Basically, the same thing can be said for the businesses at our next stop in Two Guns, which was also a place that people stopped but that became a ghost town with Highway 40. This is the ghost town of Two Guns. There's not much to see here anymore. There's this old abandoned gas station and then a few old buildings out there as well, but that's basically it. After leaving Two Guns, if you have time, you can go to Meteor Crater National Landmark. This attraction is pricey, but it gives you access to a viewpoint from which you can see a crater that was created by an 150-foot meteor that impacted the Earth. It's certainly something unique to see while you're driving through Arizona. From there was about a 25-minute drive to our next stop in Winslow. Our first stop in the city was at the Visitor Center, where we saw some of the exhibits they had on Route 66 and Native American history and got our passport stamped. Look at this awesome piece of petrified wood I got at the Visitor Center in Winslow, Arizona.
At University of Phoenix, we understand you can't change your work schedule or his practice schedule.
So these sculptures were created by Peter Toth in the 70s and the 80s. He traveled our nation and created these things. These are called the Trail of the Whispering Giants to honor Native Americans.
The sculpture, a few Burma shave signs, and these old trains were all in the park that's right next to the visitor center. From there, we headed into the downtown area and stopped at what's supposedly the world's smallest church before making it to the main attraction in the city. We made it to Winslow, Arizona, standing on the corner park over there from the Eagles song. Take it easy.
And there's a flatbed Ford right there.
Standing on a corner park is an area that honors the famous Eagles song Take It Easy and the line that talks about being in Winslow, Arizona. I can't play it for you because I probably would get a copyright strike, but you can hear my dad singing it a little bit in the background.
To see. It's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford slowing down.
While you're here, check out the Old Trails Museum. It's free and there are a bunch of small exhibits in there. If you're into the history, the museum is right next to Standing on a Corner Park, and while it doesn't have a lot of Route 66 history, it has a lot of area history. On the way out of town, stop at La Posada, which is an old Harvey House hotel with lots of things to see and history in the lobby area. This hotel is really beautiful and it has a fancy dining area if you're looking for a place to eat, or a bunch of rooms if you're looking for a place to stay. We just walked around the lobby and hallways and saw a lot of the art and decor that they had on display. From there, it was back in the car for another 20-minute drive to our next stop. This is our next stop, the Jackrabbit Trading Post in Arizona.
Yeah, there you go.
It's meant for a small child.
It looks like it's about built for you, that Jackrabbit does.
The Jackrabbit Trading Post was one of my favorite stops on Route 66 in Arizona. You'll see the Silhouette Rabbit sign all the way to Chicago with mileage noting how far you are from the Jackrabbit Trading Post as you continue your drive.
Heck yes. Look at that stamp.
Nice.
That's one of the best ones we've got so far, I think.
Only one.
You have to be sure to check into the Jackrabbit Trading Post. Great prices, and the people who run this are just great people.
Right before Hallbrook, you can stop at Geronimo Trading Post. They say they have the world's largest piece of petrified wood. This goes down into the earth, and then all the pieces that fell around it were all once part of this tree. There's also another trading post here with lots of different things for sale, including petrified wood if you're interested. This is the second Wigwam Motel on Route 66. We're in Hallbrook right now. We're not staying here tonight because we already stayed in the San Bernardino one, but it's still a really cool spot. Definitely worth staying at if you're driving the route. This one's especially cool because there's classic cars outside every one of the wigwams. This is a really fun photo spot. All the classic cars and the wigwams behind it are awesome to see. On the way out of town, there's a museum here if you want to check it out. It's free, it has some exhibits, a little bit about Route 66, but it's a cool building to see. After looking at the different exhibits in the museum, it was 25 minutes to our next stop. We made it to Petrified Forest National Park, the only park that had a piece of Route 66 that went through it, so we're driving about 15 minutes into the park to go check it out. This park is a beautiful place to spend some time in Arizona, and the Painted Desert Inn was a Route 66 landmark in the 20s and 30s that people stayed at, but now it's just a museum that you can check out on your way to the Route 66 exhibit. This is the thing you have to see when you go into the inn. It's a petroglyph that they found in the Blue Mesa. Look at how big it is with my 6-foot dad next to it. Pop's exploring the Painted Desert.
Painted Desert is amazing. We got a perfect day here with a beautiful blue sky too.
Definitely do. This is where historic Route 66 goes through the park. There's an old abandoned car here, and then the telephone pole line is the original alignment. We're not gonna explore the park anymore, but you can click in the description to see a video on the entire park, which you need about a half day to a full day for. All right, we're leaving the park and we're heading on to New Mexico. On the way to New Mexico, we stopped off to take a picture of a few more signs and to make our last stop at an old ghost town called Fort Courage. This is Fort Courage. It's the replica of an old TV show set from the show F Troop. It's basically abandoned now. I didn't know what F Troop was myself, but my dad was excited to explore it a little bit. There's also another great trading post known as Yellow Horse right on the border of Arizona and New Mexico that you can stop at. That's it for our time on Route 66 in Arizona, and you can see the New Mexico video next week or in the description if it's already been posted. Thanks for exploring with us, and if you want to hear more about any of these spots, go to throughmylens.com.
I've been in this business for 25 years now. It has literally wreaked havoc on my hair. One day it just started getting thinner and thinner, and then I heard about minoxidil.